Excelente, excelente.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined by the one and only Director Daniel Delpurgatorio of the films Tales of the Black Freighter, Marshmallow, and more. He's also a visual effects artist and writer as well. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, dude, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm stoked to have you on, especially after seeing that backdrop, man. Eraserhead, Possession, you got some good shit going. So,
Oh, yeah, awesome.
hell yeah. No, and of course, I just want to touch on the visual effects artist thing like real quick because I saw you had some credits on some of my favorite. Well, I say favorites, but mostly like because they're underrated and stuff like that as far as horror films go. But like Gags the Clown and The Stylist are two I really enjoyed over the past few years. What kind of visual effects do you do? And is that something that you kind of learned as a necessity as a filmmaker, or was that like a different love growing up that you kind of came across?
Yeah, so both those films were made by friends, and we kind of, you know how it goes. Like you meet people along the way, and you like hit it off, and then everybody sort of works on each other's projects. So it was
Calling the
really
favors.
cool. Yeah, yeah, and it's fun. Like all those folks like work on my films, I work on theirs in different capacities. And yeah, visual effects. I mean, I just sort of fell into it, just started doing it. I went to school for like illustration and design, and I got a job out of school working in the industry as a like concept artist, and then just started lying that I could do effects and animation and all that stuff, and then quickly had to teach myself how to do it. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so it's fun, and I do it for my own films as well, and it's nice to just every project do something different, whether it's directing or drawing or designing or VFX or animation. You kind of just constantly mixing it up.
Oh yeah. No, and of course,
Yeah.
not to dive into Marshmallow too early, but I do want to say the title card on that is awesome. Is that something you did yourself, or?
I did not design that one. I have a really good friend of mine, Justin, who I've been working with for, oh man, 15 plus years, and he's like the best designer.
Oh yeah.
And when that came in, I'm like, hey dude, can you come up with a cool look for this? And fucking nailed it.
Yeah. Did you do the
Yeah.
poster as well? Because that's also great. But
I did the poster. Yeah.
oh
So
hell yeah.
I did the poster. Yep.
No, that was two of the things that, well, not, I would say two of the things, but I didn't see the title card until I watched the actual movie. But that was one of the things that drew me to it immediately was the poster. I was like, dude, this looks awesome. And then I started to read the little blurb, but I don't want to spoil too much for myself. So I just watched it, blindly and stuff. But
Oh, awesome. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Super fun to, do sort of a throwback to, obviously The Thing and Stephen King and all of that stuff, but while, tying to what the film is about. And, it all makes sense when you watch it.
yeah, no, it felt like a good
Yeah.
mixture of like The Thing meets like Friday the 13th Part 2, where he's got like the little
Oh,
things
yeah.
sticking out and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
no, hell yeah. And then of course, growing up, was there any type of like, was there any certain films or events or even just people in your life that like inspired you to take this journey and become a filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my dad liked movies a lot, and I had an uncle who was like into comic books and drawing. So I really started, I fell right into the art thing really from my uncle, and him, showing me how to draw and stuff like that. And then as I was growing up, my dad, we'd always watch movies as a family. And then as I was getting older, we started to dive into more horror films. And I think it was like a combo of all of that. Like growing up, I loved music. Like I was super into like rock and metal music. Like my uncle, like I remember when I was little, put on Kiss. I was
Oh yeah.
probably like four, and I was like, oh shit, this is awesome. And like I really got into it like at a young age, and everything art related, music, film, illustration, painting, all of that stuff is just, I'm just super into it. And it's a cool outlet, and it's exciting to witness and experience other people's art in different forms. So yeah, just kind of stuck with it,
Oh yeah.
which is, yeah, it was cool.
No, and Kiss is a perfect example, especially of like, like one that inspired a lot of bands today that like to do the showmanship part, like they,
Yeah.
inspired bands like Ghost, that do
Yeah.
stuff today, or even you can go as far as to say they inspired Gore, which does, wild, crazy
Yeah.
shit. So no, it's
Yeah. I always thought it was interesting to read that stuff, when I was growing up, and just to hear the idea of like, oh, we started a band because we wanted to make something based on what we wanted to see. And I think that's really interesting because a lot of, filmmakers and artists work the same way. It's like, not all, but like you want to do something that you would enjoy, and you just kind of lean into that. And I think it's cool that, people are able to take a swing, like that's the
Yeah.
big thing, especially with independent movies. You're able to kind of take a swing and do something different. Same thing with music, and like what Kiss had done, like they did something completely different and didn't work at first, and eventually it caught on, which I mean, it's a massive thing now, but it shows that sometimes you just got to do what you would want, and hopefully the good stuff comes with it.
No, yeah. No, they both have the spirit of DIY, like everybody starts
Yep.
off like doing it, like you said, doing exactly what they want to do and doing it themselves until, they'll get help eventually, maybe, the label or, a production company, but not
Yep.
not not always. And, most of the time it's because they went out there and, pulled up their britches and made what they wanted to see first, so or wanted to
You,
hear. So
it's interesting, and obviously seeing your Hereditary, back there, but like companies like A24 have sort of, and Neon now, and all the companies like that, they've definitely shifted in the sensibilities where it's back to being more artist first.
yeah.
And I think it keeps that DIY aesthetic in there, which is fucking awesome. Like when you listen to metal and punk rock and all of that stuff, like that's the shit that we were doing, like making flyers at Attack of the Cats,
Yeah.
making flyers at like Kinko's, or back in the day, and like taping shit up all over the place, and everything was way more hands on. And companies, it's cool for companies like A24 that they sort of give a little bit more of that power back to the artist to do what artists do. Um, and the films are very different because of it, which is cool because you get a very unique perspective on each project, and you could feel that artist in each project, and that's such a DIY thing, and I love it.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
when they enjoy one of their directors too, they don't force them to sequel one of their movies. They let them just do like their original vision and stuff exactly. So that's one thing I
Yeah.
really enjoy about like that's a lot different than like the way, films, especially like horror and genre films used to be treated. It was always like, oh, this character's awesome. Let's like Weapons just came out and they're already saying, oh, we might do a prequel for the,
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but they're saying they might do a prequel for a character within the film. And
Yep.
so I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, why does it immediately have to be like, let's like I just like I loved Barbarian, so I wanted to see Weapons. I loved Get Out, I wanted to see Us, same
Yeah.
so or like, even Osgood Perkins, he put out Long Legs earlier this year and already has Keeper coming out. And those are not,
Yeah.
like it was cool to see Ty West do X and Pearl, but it's also nice to see like stuff like Keeper and Long Legs within a year of each other. So it's just the trust
Yeah.
that some of these like exactly, and that's Neon that put the trust in Osgood. So no, that's
Yeah.
I definitely agree. It's way different than it used to be. Like some of it does, and sometimes first time directors do get the chance to work with like a Neon or A24 because they, like they got that kid from YouTube, Kane Parsons doing backrooms and stuff. So it's really
Yeah.
just, and it's because he did the DIY stuff and threw it on YouTube and they saw it. So no, it's crazy, but
Yeah, so it's really cool, and the good thing about that is that effect. It's having an effect on bigger companies, like bigger studios as well. Whereas, like back, even not too long ago, everyone falls into the trend. Like bigger studios fall into the trend, and it's like, well, what hit hard? Let's make 25 zombie movies because that's 28 Days Later came out and everybody loves that, and so they would like constantly like fall on these trends, and it was very planned out. And then when a company like A24 and Neon now they sort of switched it and let the filmmakers do their thing. I think that's bleeding over now to the bigger studios saying like, oh shit, like let's take a chance on these weird obscure movies, and let the filmmakers do what they do. And that's good, you know what I mean? Like whether
yeah.
those movies are successful or not, or people like them or not, I think it's definitely opened eyes for the industry to sort of shift and see that there is a hunger for that kind of stuff out there, and it doesn't have to just be, whatever part three or part four because it was successful.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you're gonna flood the market, I'd rather it be flooded with original and like unique ideas instead of just be like all these IPs just regurgitated. And I'm not gonna lie and say I don't love like I loved Godzilla minus one and I'm excited for that sequel, but I mean
Yep.
that's not really stuff that but there's just certain things where like I'd much rather just see original visions from those directors and not have them just like stuck in one world. Like as much as I love the Terrifier films, I'm like ready for them to be over with just to see if Damien Leone can do something. Not that I don't think he can do something else, but I just want to see him do something else.
Do
You know what I
something
mean?
else.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And it's funny because it's a sort of a double-edged sword, right? Like you have people, that want to see something new, and when there's something new, they don't go to the theaters or they shit on it. And then when it's not something new and it's just a rehash, they don't go to the theaters and they shit on it for being, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And so I'm a fan of like I'd rather see people do different shit and take a swing, and maybe it's not my cup of tea, but they did it, and we need more unique visions, you know what I mean? And we need people taking, different chances and trying different stuff, because the more that happens, the more other people are going to do that, and the more the studios are going to, go for that as well. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a balance of giving people familiar stuff that they're familiar with, and then also, new shit.
Yeah, no, and they've also got better at like promoting a lot of the indie stuff. Like Cineverse is doing great jobs of like promoting some of
Yeah.
the stuff, and just other like just because of all these like there's so many horror podcasts and horror like influencers and stuff, so they've helped like boost it. I feel like on the internet, and I feel like horror just become more popular in general too. So that's really
Yeah.
helped. But like for instance, I'm gonna go this weekend and see Jimmy and Stiggs, which is like Joe Bago's latest film, and I'm just a fan of
Yep.
him as a filmmaker. So it's but
Yeah.
that's like the type of film that I would love to go in and see the theater packed. And sometimes I've been surprised before. I've gone to see stuff that I thought for sure like would be, just kind of like a few people in there with me and then it was packed out. Like when I went and saw Eddington, just because people were so down on Beau's Afraid, I was like, oh, probably just me and like, my buddy that came with me and a few other people, but it was a packed theater and I was like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
hell yeah, people are still going
Yeah.
for them.
When I saw Weapons the other night, they had a Jimmy and Stiggs trailer, and fucking
Oh
people
yeah.
cheered, and
Oh
I
yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome!" And that's cool because again, that's like Joe just fucking like batshit insane. Like he just fucking makes crazy shit, and there's it's cool how people really latch onto it and really love the fact that he's doing something different and very unique to him. And major studio, Eli's made, studio has picked it up and it's going in major theaters. Like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, it's so cool.
it's nice to have that as an option. And then of course if you want to, like you can go watch I know what you did last summer, that's fine. But like
Yep.
it's nice to be able to go watch the splatter flick as well, so
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. The more of that stuff, the better it is for all of us, you know?
yeah. Oh yeah. And of course you mentioned being a fan of like heavier music and like growing up on Kiss and being a fan of horror films. Do you have any we'll start with the horror films section real quick before moving on to the heavy music stuff. But do you and really it's just a quick question on both, but do you have any favorites of all time when it comes to horror films? And you don't have to shout out of course, I know a lot of us have that favorite, but you can shout out a few favorites if you want to set near and dear.
Yeah. Growing up, like I really like I got into Jaws, of course, like that kind of opened the door for me. And I still love that movie so much. And then of course Alien. I love Altered States. Um, The Shining, I like Straw Dogs, The Devils, like all of that stuff. I think is fucking amazing. And like when I was younger, I told you like my dad liked movies. Like my family was out. And I was probably like 9 or so, and I
Yeah.
took a VHS he had where he like recorded movies, and it was Mad Max, Friday the 13th Part Two, which we just talked about, and
Oh yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that's the first time that I watched something different than like Close Encounters or Jaws, and I was like, holy shit! It like fucked me up because I just didn't know that you could make movies that were so like primal, and
Yeah.
I think that kind of like changed my perspective on filmmaking, got me excited about movies in a different way.
Yeah.
So I was always sort of balancing between like classic Spielberg and like the big spectacle, which I love, and then also like these sort of dirty, gritty films. So
No, I'm with you 100%. Like I mentioned, Love and Terrifier, I love stuff
yep,
like that. But then also, like, I just noticed your shirt, Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks as well. So
yeah,
I'm a big fan of just like anything. Like, some fans are just like, I have a buddy, we have a group chat because we do a monthly episode and stuff. And one of our crew or whatever, I guess you would call it. He is just like he loves like gore and like old school like splatter style stuff, but he does not care for like he mostly hates on A24 stuff and like
yeah,
he spent all last year just dogging on I saw the TV Glow, even though that was like one of my favorites of the year and stuff,
yeah,
but being like Terrifier 3 ruled and so and I definitely get it, different fandoms, but I'm with you. It's like I love stuff like, I watch stuff like, the Lynch stuff, Possession, that,
Yep.
and then but I also just go and watch The Prowler, or the Burning and shit like that. That's just gonna be like turn your mind off and watch people get slaughtered. So
Yeah, and it's cool because like it's like that's a perfect example of like how people have such specific taste, right? And not everything is for everybody, but that's kind of what art is. Um,
yeah,
and if it's enough that somebody's talking about it and you're having conversations, good or bad, it's a success. It's a success because then that artist or filmmaker or musician did something that is um, that's getting people talking. You know what I mean? And that's cool. That's what we want.
yeah, no, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on the heavy music side of things, you mentioned, Kiss being something that inspired you growing up. Is there any music like out today that you've been like really heavy on, like listening to and stuff? Like any bands that either, even if it's like an old band that you just found yourself like really returning to lately or something like that?
Yeah, there's a new band, and you mentioned Guar, but called Squid Pisser that came out. Tommy, who's in now in Guar, it's a band that he started a handful of years ago. They're actually playing Chicago this weekend, and I'm super excited to see them. I haven't seen them yet, and they're definitely more like sort of old, like older, like late '90s, like grindcore, thrashy, but
Yeah.
really noisy. They're super great. Um, I really like the band Lucifer. I think they're good. They're kind of like an old, like Ozzy inspired, like doom metal
Oh yeah.
band. Yeah, they're really good. And again, having grown up, I still listen to a lot of old, like Kiss and Maiden and stuff like that. Of course.
Would you ever be interested in making like a biopic about like any of those older bands and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I mean, like I love music a lot, obviously, and like even in my films, like with the score, like I think music plays as much of a part in a movie as the visuals do, because it creates sort of like an ethereal landscape for people to be pulled in. And I've always wanted to do a film where I could bring in some of that like metal and like doom stuff that I really like listening to.
Oh yeah.
There's a song that I really love by Lucifer that I'm like dying to use in a dying to use in a film. Like I want to write something around just that fucking song.
Heck yeah.
So yeah.
Now I've always been trying to pitch the idea for somebody to do a Demons 3. I don't know if you saw the Demons movies
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but where it's like at a hardcore show, because there's so many bands now, or not even hardcore, but like, death metal or something. There's so many bands these days that have like V8 like TV showing stuff on their screen. So you could
Yep.
easily just have them at a thrift store or something beforehand, find the Demons tape, show it, and then all
Uh,
of a sudden everything's fucked at the show. So no, it
let's
would
do
be
it.
that
Let's
was
do it. I love it. Yeah.
make it
I
just splattery as hell. It'd be fun as fuck for
I,
sure.
I lived in Tampa when I was uh like mid like later in my life before I went to college. And of course in Tampa there's all those metal bands like
Yeah.
Obituary and all those guys. And there was a massive like metal and grindcore scene with like Reversal of Man and Ass Suck and Scrotum Grinder and all those bands. So it was really cool to sort of get the tail end of like the night like late 80s and like early 90s like metal, and then going into like that crazy like grindcore stuff where yeah, it was really really fun, and that shit was just all around us, which is cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that would be sick for sure. Gore is a Gore concert, pretty much is Demons 3 for sure.
Oh, I know, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because like all their new music videos too are definitely like leaning into the show aspect, and bringing all the gore and crazy like violence, which is it's awesome. And it's some of their videos had that before, but it's like even further now, which is cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, no. I actually, that's one thing I definitely noticed about Marshmallow was like the sound design and just music in general, I have a question about that when we dive into that, but which we can go ahead and dive into Marshmallow. I don't really want to go spoilery with it. We can go kind of like loose, like very loose spoilers with it, because
Yeah.
just like weapons, I feel like if you have just like the small log line, you can go in as blind as possible, and it's the best way to enjoy the film. So, but when it comes to that film, you have written projects in your past, but this one was written by, and sorry if I butcher his name, but I think his name's Andy Grezkovic.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I was worried about the
Yeah.
last name. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so at what point did you guys, what point did you come on board as the director, and what was it like? What was the collaboration like between the two of you?
Yeah, so I had met our producer Warner years ago on a short film that I had done. It was playing at a festival, and he had a film that was playing, and we just hit it off and always wanted to work together. In fact, like I had done some VFX for some films that he had worked on, and he messaged me and goes, "Hey, I got a pretty cool script that I think falls in your aesthetic. Do you want to take a look?" So he sent me Marshmallow, and I did. I was like, "Oh yeah, this definitely is like my vibe for sure." It like captured the like young kid like Stephen King stuff that I really love, but it also like I connected to it from a parent like a parent's perspective
Yeah.
with how the movie transitions. And so yeah, talked with Andy. I met Andy and Warner, and we got on calls, and I kind of gave him my take and some of the stuff that I would want to bring into it and how it would blend in with what Andy wrote. And yeah, he was super open, and Warner and Todd, our other producer, were really, really open to, my ideas and my approach. And, like, as you know, every filmmaker and artist has such a specific way that they work, a specific style. And like, they know what my style is. So they understood like kind of how I wanted to skew things and play it up. And yeah, it was a really fun process to be able to work with those guys and to, like I always say, like filmmaking is it evolves. Like you write a script and then it evolves when you cast it, then it evolves when you find your location, when you film it. Like it's constantly changing based on what comes in. And I think that Andy, the essence of Andy's film was there. And we honored that, you know what I mean? Like it was really important to honor that and to just let it kind of grow as all of that stuff fell into place.
Yeah. No, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is cool.
No, and speaking of casting, this has a stacked cast. I love Georgia Wyndham. I became a fan of hers because of Ted. I love that show. And then,
Yeah.
of course, I'm a fan of Broken Lizard. Paul
With
Soder.
Paul. Yep.
Yeah, and I always want to say Dan Soder because Dan Soder's on my fucking For You page 24/7 all the time. But Broken Lizard rules. But so
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his. So as soon as he popped up, I was like, because like I said, once I saw the film thing, I didn't want to look too much past. I figured it was kids, so I didn't like even think about like recognizing anybody in the film. I was like, I probably won't recognize anybody, but I ended up recognizing like majority of the cast, so I was like pretty stoked on that. And but how did the cast for this come together? And was it something that like you did yourself? Did you guys, was it just a strong casting director, or was there like any unique stories for anybody? Or
Yeah, we had a really great casting director, Thomas, and he essentially like when we went through the script, I kind of broke down what I was looking for, and like sort of broke down like what the roles were, and we would get on calls and with the producers and myself, and we would sort of talk about like how we wanted to lean and what directions, and yeah, he was able to help sort of pull in almost everybody that you see in there. Warner, our producer Warner, has had a working relationship with Paul. Paul had done a couple of other films of his, so that was a connection through our team, and it was really cool. Like he was really excited to come in and do something that was different than what he usually, would usually do, which was awesome. So yeah, it was fun and everybody was so good, and everybody kind of like connected to their roles or played themselves to some extent. So like a lot of the kids, like the personalities and the roles that you see in the film were them in real life.
yeah,
Like more like, Q who plays Morgan, like that's him for sure. Like how he is in real life. So like Georgia was even like a camp counselor. She like came in and did a read and like read the tale that she tells at the fire, at the fire. And I was like, holy shit, this is like it's like so natural. She's like, well, I was a counselor. I'm like, oh, that fucking makes sense. So like everybody like totally like leaned into a bit of themselves, which was fun. And I feel it just it makes it feel more authentic, especially with the kids.
hell yeah. No,
Yeah.
I feel like the cast definitely like is a big strength in this film. I mean, the story, I love the story as well, especially where it goes, without saying too much. But
Yeah.
and it's like it's one of those things that, especially with children these days, it's very hard to get, like not only one good kid actor, but a whole camp full of them. And you guys definitely knocked it out of the park with the child, like all the child actors and stuff. They did a great job. So not only
Yeah.
the adults, but they did great too. Um,
Yeah.
but speaking of like the sound design and like, the score and all that stuff, how early, like I really love the sound design, like for instance, with all the dream stuff and especially like with the grandfather sequence early on, the panic of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, how early on in prep do you guys start like focusing on that type of things and start like writing notes for, what you want to do with sound here or like the score there and stuff like that?
Yeah, so early on, I Ian, who did our sound design, like I've been working with him on almost everything that I've done. Like
Oh yeah.
when we met, we like hit it off, and from that point forward, he's done everything, like film, commercials, like anything that I do. And so like we have such a shorthand, and we have like an aesthetic. Like he knows what I like, and he also has really good taste. So I, gave him the script early on, and he read it, and he sort of knew what the world was, and we talked about some stuff. And then after I shot, I sent him a couple of like clips to say like, hey, these are some of the things that I want to figure out, which was like how do the well, I can't spoil it, but like I wanted to figure some stuff out. And he started doing like some tests and kind of like playing around. And then once we got like I was sending him the rough cut. Like once we got a rough cut in a really good place, I sent it to him so he could kind of get his mind into it. And yeah, he just nailed it in terms of capturing that sort of weird vibe. Like a lot of what we do is not like typical,
Yeah.
and some people will like it, some people won't, but that's part of the like of the aesthetic I think that we've created. And like I said earlier, like his design, his sound design in it like connected with what the music is, right? Like that it they work so like they intertwine so much, and it's like music is up and sound is down, or sound is up and music is down, or they hit in the center. And I think that there is like a really great balance that Nick did with the score and what Ian did with the sound design, and how they sort of played together. It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, I enjoyed it a lot, and it definitely stuck out for sure. It was one of those things, and I liked how at the end when the credits played, it was like the score was playing instead of like a needle drop or something. So it very
Yeah.
like it kind of like when that usually when that happens, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, well, not like oh shit, like I forgot I liked the score, but it just reminds you like that score ruled like too. You know what I mean? Like it reminds you of
Yeah.
how good it was and stuff. So because sometimes you like all of a sudden you hear like baby come back or some shit, and it's like
Yeah.
you forget about every other music you heard throughout the whole movie. So no,
Yeah.
I do, and I do like the one, needle drop that is in the film from like the kind of like drone shot and stuff like that that's happens, but without spoiling that too much. But
For what, towards the end.
yeah.
Oh, so Nick, who did their music, he played that.
Oh hell yeah. I was wondering
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah, yeah. We when Andy, our editor, was putting it together, he drops a track in that track in there,
Yeah.
and it worked really well. And so Nick was able to, he had a couple of friends that did all of the performing of the or singing, and then he did all the music, and the music was great because it was able to kind of tie to the aesthetic of what he did for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's music is a weird thing because like in a lot of more studio type films, it's very much like be scared, here's a music track, jump scare, here's a music track, be happy, here's a music track. Like they're it's a score composed to tell you what to do and what to feel. And with this, we talked early on, like we wanted to have themes for certain parts, which are like nightmare themes, reality themes, like our slasher themes. But we wanted it was again more ethereal, and it's like more of an experience. Like you feel like you're sort of like within this like web of stuff, right? And
Yeah.
that's like the tone that we wanted to capture for the whole film. So
No, hell yeah. No, it's definitely like a one of those things, and it's kind of surprising how early things like get going in the film. You know what I mean? I expected it kind of to
yeah,
be like a last act type thing, and once things really get going, it's such a fun film. I mean, it's so fun, from the start too. That's one of the things is it creates a mystery early on, and I definitely get
yeah,
what you said. You made a comment a little bit ago about how it might not be for everybody, and I completely say that's one of the things though that makes this film special. It takes such a swing, in what it does
yep,
that that's one of the things that I really enjoy, and it's not going to be for everybody. But I mean, there's people that even don't like Hereditary just because they wanted her to be crazy the whole time. I'm like, you
yeah.
can't you can't want an ending and then it's when it's not the ending you want, be mad. So
You have to earn it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's a part, and like that goes back to some of the films we were talking about earlier, like the 70s, like 70s and 80s films where you earned like you lived and earned what happens at the end because you've gone through all of the arcs that the character needs to go through. And with a lot of the superhero stuff that kind of started to erase that, where
yeah,
now films are like balls to the wall right in the first thing, and they get bad marks if they don't have that. Like, oh, this movie was too character driven. There wasn't enough action. And it's like that. I saw a headline that said that for like Fantastic Four. I'm like, oh man, that's where we're at. Where headlines are talking about there being too much character development and not
Yeah.
enough action. It's like, oh shit. But again, when I got the script, what I liked about it was I'm like, this is cool because it's so different. And we talked early on. We're like, we know exactly what this is going to do. It's going to go both ways. Like people that want to come in and see Jason cutting kids' heads off are going to be disappointed because we're not going to do that. But we are going to do something very different. So hopefully they'll be surprised by the change of the sort of the arc of the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we knew like that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do something very different. Like we've seen all of that before, and this is is just playing up something fresh. A little bit more fresh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I loved about it was, even being a visual effects artist, this has a lot of practical effects and stuff, and you got to work with the legendary Robert Kurtzman, who's also past guest
Yeah.
of the show, self-plug a little bit, but
Yeah.
what was it like, getting, somebody so important, was it really important to make sure you get somebody of that caliber, to come in and do these effects? And also, was that kind of one of the reasons that you led into like a R rating? Because I feel like this film easily could have been PG-13 and, kind of been a little bit more, quote unquote, for the masses and stuff, take out,
Yeah.
a sex scene and a fuck or two. Uh,
Yeah.
but which my son, even he's 4 years old. I mean, he's seen Jeepers Creepers, so
Yeah.
but he watched the ending with me after, post sex scene, because
Yeah.
that's when I had to stop it the day he came home or whatever. But and he loved the film. He was even asking like, oh, are those his friends, and like asking questions and
Yeah.
stuff. So he like really enjoyed the kids and everything. But was there any kind of thought about, making this PG-13, and was that kind of one of the reasons, is, to make sure that those effects, stuck out and were able to be a little bit visceral when need be?
Yeah, I think the big thing early on was like even with the script, it was we didn't want to like dumb the kids down and like like when kids are not around their parents, like they talk like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that they felt like they had that sort of that power and that freedom, right? And so even in the script, like when we were going through stuff with the kids, I'm like, "Oh, how would you say this?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I would say this, or I would curse here, or I wouldn't say that." And we altered based on their personalities, right? And so I think because of that, right out of the gate, there was so much cursing, and that's just because kids don't have their parents around, and there's no
Yeah.
adults telling them that they can't act like that. And so that was what was exciting. And then with the on the effects front, the effects play a part kind of twofold without spoiling it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we wanted to have fun with it. I am an effects guy, visual effects guy, but I am like I want to do everything practical. Like
Yeah.
I don't ever want to do VFX if possible. And so that was the thing early on. Bob is amazing. Bob and Marcy, who did all the effects, like obviously, and I tell him this all the time, like I try not to be a fucking complete nerd when I'm talking to Bob or around them, just because like I've grown up watching everything that he's done.
Right.
But he's such a great guy. He's super collaborative. And like I know what I want to do, and then he's like, yeah, let's do this, and then let's try this, and then you just kind of get that like you go back and forth, and it's really cool because like he gets inspired, then you get inspired, and you're constantly, and he gets so many good ideas of how to pull things off and to try things. And yeah, it was a lot of fun working with him on that. And like this is not like a normal Bob type project where he's making big monsters and like blood's everywhere. And so like outside of the effects work, him and Marcy did all the hair and makeup as well. So
Oh yeah.
they were on set the whole time. They weren't there for just like a week of doing prosthetic stuff. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So that was really nice.
No, that's awesome. No, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that like when you look at his like list of movies, it's just like when I had him, like I said had him as a guest, it's hard not to ask him just like 30,000 questions about all the movies he's worked on, from Intruder up or Evil Dead 2
Oh,
even and stuff. So
yep. So when we were shooting, we were in Kentucky, and so we got an Airbnb. So it was myself, Warner, our producer, and Bob and Marcy. We all stayed in the same house. And so like every night we'd like wrap and we'd get back late. Like we'd get Taco Bell because that was the only thing that was open at like 1 in the morning. And we'd go back and we'd just sit by the fire. And it was just like me like nerding out listening to Bob talk about all these films. And I asked like 9,000 questions. And yeah, it doesn't, I don't think that'll ever change. But the most important thing is he's just a really, really nice guy. And that was the case on this whole film. Everybody in every department was really great, and we all got along, and we all respected each other and loved each other. And it made the movie fun. Whether the movie did great or was a success or people liked it or not, that part of it is, I think, the most important, is that you have a good team of people that enjoy each other and trust each other. The kids were hanging out with all the crew, like it was fucking cool, man. It was really cool.
Hell yeah, that's awesome,
Yeah,
and you can definitely see that on screen. The fun that was had like while filming it and stuff like that. You watch some movies and
yeah.
you're like, oh, that person didn't want to be there. You can tell everybody that was on screen in this film like loved what they were doing and stuff. So
Yeah, it's funny because people always ask like, "Oh, did you go to camp growing up?" And it's like I went to day camp. I never did like a sleepaway camp, and so like I was shooting. I like text my wife, and I was like, "Oh, this is my first like real sleepaway camp experience."
yeah,
Like the movie, we filmed the movie, but like that's kind of what it was like. We were all there living on those campgrounds, pretty much. And I was like, "Damn, it was cool."
hell yeah. Now and then, my last question about Marshmallow before moving on to just like a wrap up question I pretty much have for you is, do you guys have plans for a Blu-ray release? Is there already a Blu-ray release? I just didn't find it, or
Yeah, we actually are right now about to finalize the deal for release where
oh yeah,
we'll have a DVD, Blu-ray, a special combo pack, and also a VHS,
hell
which
yeah.
is awesome. And I'm like totally nerding out about that. So hopefully we'll have that soon. And for me, it was weird because like this movie, like it was in theaters, right? Like I was like, fuck, I get to watch my movie in the theater. So I went with my kids to watch it, which was cool. And
Oh
then
yeah.
I just get like random texts and messages of people sending me like their ticket stubs, which was fucking badass. And looking at your drive-in figure behind you, we
Oh yeah.
have figures as well that we just got we just got the boxes.
Hell
So
yeah.
we have a badass action figure. So we have a bunch of cool like old school stuff.
Hell yeah. No, I'm definitely stoked for that as well. Obviously, I'm a fan of physical media and all that. So, no, I got the
Same.
f film on VOD, but I definitely wanted to get a physical copy. So keep an eye out for that
Awesome.
for sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'll let you know. Yeah, once we get it all in place.
hell yeah. No, I'm stoked for that. Can you say who's putting it out or?
Not until it's signed,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's a cool. I'm very excited about it just because it brings a lot back, for me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Stoked for you for sure. But
yeah.
and then pretty much my wrap-up question I like to ask all my guests is, do you have a horror story of your own? And it could be from, a day gone wrong on set, not necessarily with that film, but I know you did Tales of the Black Freighter, which was animated, so I know it's a little different thing to take on. And but you've also done shorts and everything. But also it could be just something in your personal life that was scary, whether it's paranormal or, just a scary day. Like, I've had people talk about being held at gunpoint or stabbed. So.
So I had no gunpoint or stabbings, but when I was in college, my first year that I was there, I was in the dorm, and our school was small. It was in Sarasota, Florida, and it was an art school, and so like there was like 900 people, I think. Like it was really small, and so our dorms were 2 floors, and there was like maybe 12 rooms on each floor, and so like I was really good friends with everybody on the floor, and my my bed was like one of those like I don't know what they're called, where they're like off the ground and you could put storage under it. It was like high, right?
Yeah.
And so I had it, yeah. So I had my bed against a wall in the corner, and in front of my bed, I had to the side of it. I mean, I had like a dresser. Like they had like these freestanding gigantic dressers where you could put your clothes in. So like I had to like climb into my bed by the foot of my bed and like climb in, and it kind of felt like you were in a coffin, which is weird thinking about that now. And so like everybody every night we would get done with classes, and we had classes that went to like 9:30, and everyone would come over to our place. We all fucking like watch horror movies and listen to music and draw and paint or whatever, and then we'd wrap up at like 3 in the morning and everyone would leave. And so everyone left, and I get into bed, we all fall asleep, and I fucking woke up because it felt like someone was choking me. Like I could feel like someone's like fingers like pushing my neck. And
Holy
so
shit.
like I jump out of bed, like jump off this high bed, and I flip on the lights and yell, "What the fuck?" Like really loud. Like that was just my reaction. And then everybody came in because I guess I yelled so loud that everyone fucking heard it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I was like, it was just completely terrified me. Like I didn't know what it was. It probably was like a what's it called? Sleep. What's it called when you feel like there's somebody sitting at the edge of your bed? Um,
Sleep paralysis?
Sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Looking back at it like years later, I was like, oh, it's probably like a sleep paralysis thing. But like it felt like I remember like waking up and not opening my eyes, going like, oh, is my fucking roommate sitting on my bed choking me? Like that's what I was thinking. And I opened my eyes, expected to see him like laughing, and he wasn't there. And so like I jumped on, turned the light, and it fucking scared the shit out of me. But the funny thing was the next or like later after Christmas, right? This is months later after Christmas, we come back and we had like a cleaning person that would like come in and clean the bathroom and all that stuff. And the person was not showing up. And apparently he quit. And we asked like what happened. And the woman at the front was like, oh, he quit. He called and said he saw a ghost in the bathroom. And so he literally just didn't show up to work anymore. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And so, whether it's real or not, I have no idea, but it was enough that it like startled me when I was a kid in college, and it was a fun thing that we all talked about, and we're like, oh my God, he saw a ghost and he's not here anymore. And apparently the girls' dormitory was like back in the day, it used to be like a little hotel and there was a brothel there, and they had like 3 rooms that they didn't put people in because someone killed themselves in one of those rooms. And
Oh shit.
there's like weird shit that happens there apparently. And like it was on like the History Channel. They came and they would always come and do like the ghost tour thing at the school.
Yeah.
So I like to think it was real, but probably just like a sleep paralysis thing. But it was enough that there was fun little incidents all around it that it made it feel kind of creepy.
Right. No, hell yeah. It's one of like you said, you get a little bit of vindication when you hear that second story, then the third one, you're like, fuck yeah, I wasn't tripping. Like
yeah. Well, and I think that because like we all knew about the girls' dormitory thing, because that was just like a wide thing. Everybody knew about it, especially the people that lived in that building. So like when that thing happened to me, I was like, oh shit, like this has to be something, because obviously there's activity or whatever activity going on at this building. And then the clean, the janitor person not coming, that was like, oh yes, that was definitely, I got choked by a ghost. Yeah, but now it's just like, oh yeah, it's probably sleep paralysis, but it was cool at the time.
Hell yeah. Definitely a story to remember for sure. But
yeah.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that. And do you have anything you want to promote, or just, let the people know about, even if it's just reminding them about, where they can find Marshmallow and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Marshmallow is available on VOD now. So it's on Amazon, Apple, all of that stuff. You could rent it or purchase it. We have some physical releases coming out, hopefully later this year. And we have streaming to announce soon. That'll start in January as well. So yeah, check it out. And you could find my information about this on my Instagram, which is Daniel.Delpurgatorio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrible at social media stuff, but I try to just post things that other people are more professional about. So yeah.
No, I feel that for sure. I'll definitely try to make sure whenever I see the, Blu-ray coming and all the other physical media stuff like that figure and all that, I'll share it as well for sure.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me and chatting. It's cool to talk metal and music and films and all of that stuff.
Of course, man. We'll have to do this again sometime, especially when you got another film coming out, or even if you just want to come on and talk horror, we'll pick a topic and just chat about it or whatever.
Yeah, let me know. I'm always down. I'm a super nerd, so I love to talk.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course, for anybody listening or watching, just make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, letting us know what you think about Marshmallow if you checked it out, and only if you liked it. If you don't like it, just keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah. Shut up. Don't say anything. Yeah.
Just dislike my video. I'll take the dislike for it. There you go. But no, man, I appreciate you for joining me. It was a blast for sure.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much.